This is exactly the kind of video that you want to be doing. Do you know why? Because first of all, it's the FA Cup and it's just enjoyable. It's English heritage. It's something Liverpool love in the first place. But there's also like just still that bit of romance when you actually beat a team or when a team beats someone, right? And Liverpool beating Accrington Stanley actually kind of proved that the time that I wrote off both the League Cup and the FA Cup was a good time for Liverpool to reset the narrative. It was a good time to remind people there is a wider picture than just what we were thinking when all the heads go down and everyone goes, uh-oh, transfer saga, time to do the transfer saga thing. You can get very inward looking as a club in that time and you forget there are a lot of positives to see in this Liverpool team right now. I'm not saying that beating Accrington Stanley proves that Liverpool are going to win the league. I'm not saying that beating Accrington Stanley proves that Liverpool are going to win anything this season. But what it certainly shows is that there is a lot more to Liverpool at the moment than Liverpool fans are currently giving them the credit for. Plenty of youth coming through, plenty of positive performances, plenty of mixed messaging and mixed reactions in the way that people were reacting to their own goals, and also plenty of positives for people like Federico Chiesa. I'll start on Federico Chiesa because I enjoy talking about him in the first place. Seems like a lovely guy. I know that Juve fans aren't the biggest fan of him because of what happened towards the acrimonious end of their relationship and, you know, his relationship with the Institute of Juve. But I do really like, and I mean genuinely really like, his attitude towards football. I know that he's struggling for fitness. I know that he looks like he's currently hobbling around like an old man out on the field. But that's not the point of what I'm trying to say about Federico Chiesa. When he came on, he still looked like he was playing in Serie A, but he wasn't. He was playing against a lower league team in the FA Cup, and his goal even looked pretty slow. His build is a little bit unusual. Because I'm used to looking at all of these broad, incredibly athletic guys that play for Liverpool. And Chiesa at the moment doesn't look athletic, to be honest. He doesn't look like a player that is ready to start in the first team. And I think that's a fair, I would imagine that even he and the medical staff would say that. He's not really had a pre-season. He has struggled with injuries. It has been an unusual time for him over in the UK, trying to acclimatise here. Wow, guys really love riding the motorbikes on Saturday. And I sort of feel sorry for him. Because you can see, and there were a couple of times today where someone scored a goal and ended up doing almost a humble celebration rather than, a release of stress. This game was not the release of stress game that I think Liverpool were looking for. This was the game of, oh, right, there is perspective in a season. So when Chiesa scored, he's in front of the cop, he kind of wheels away, almost embarrassed, but humble. And I think that's what I love about him so much. He had a really good time on that right wing, and you knew he was going to because he's a quality player and he's playing against tired League Two opposition, and there's not much else to do in the game. But he had a lot of space, and I think he actually made the most of it. There were a couple of times where I thought, you know what, if you're 2-3% fitter than you are right now, you just go past a guy. He had Conor Bradley doing a lot of the running behind him. It was really nice to watch, and that's a really pleasant piece of feedback. Outside of that, I don't think Accrington Stanley were ever going to worry Liverpool all that much. I know they had a couple of times where it was like, hey, we'll go forward and we'll do something we've decided before. We'll play towards our strengths. That's the whole point of the FA Cup. That's the magic, as people want to say, of the FA Cup. But the fact that we got through and the fact that we're not that giant that falls on this first weekend that feels inevitable is good for me. Especially as I think there was quite a negative, almost slippery slope type narrative going on around Liverpool where it's like, this is the point where we fall apart. This is the point where this. I'm not saying that I don't think there are poor elements to what is going on at the moment. I think we all got lost in the sauce of Trent Alexander-Arnold's transfer. I think then the worry of Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah, and this team just not being there next season did get to people. But it doesn't get to everyone else who's starting in that starting 11. There are people in that team who want to prove themselves. Harvey Elliott. Harvey had kind of a weird game, actually. I kind of want to talk about him for a second. First of all, sort of started out on the right wing. Liverpool started a different midfield to the midfield that I expected, and so things looked a little bit different shape-wise. Szoboszlai obviously starting in there. You'd imagine Harvey probably wants to start the 10, but he had loads of space on that right-hand side. Didn't need to use his pace, which I'm not sure was particularly one of his things, same as Chiesa, but he used a lot of his guile, he used a lot of his positioning, he reads the game exceptionally well, and with everything going on around him transfer-wise, everyone sort of saying, oh, I think he wants to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. He's not had many minutes so far. I wouldn't blame him if he did, but I would say, is this really the time to do that in a title challenge season? Is this really the time to address any of this? Maybe, I suppose if you're focusing on yourself, then you always feel like it's the time to address that. But if you want to be that Liverpool legend, which apparently he said he did when he came in, then no, it isn't the time to do that. And I think he did have a good game. Accrington kind of tried to bully him at times, but he's stronger than he looks. He's more dogged than I think a lot of people give him credit for, because the hairstyle misleads you, the facial hair, the pleasant demeanour, all those things mislead you. I think Slot broadly likes him for the role he plays, but I am wondering whether Slot looks at certain players, which is why we've been, associated with a couple of 10s and a couple of wingers like Kvaradona and those kind of guys, and goes, okay, these are good and I can play them in these positions, but I certainly think that there are other people that can play these roles and do what I want them to do better than these guys. Doesn't mean that they don't gel as a coach. Doesn't mean they've not got a position in the Liverpool team. It just means we want multiple options, and Harvey is certainly an option. I was thinking about this at right back. I was thinking about this on left wing. I was thinking about this on the right wing. I was thinking about this in centre midfield. And to an extent, Maresca said it for Chelsea earlier in the season. It was like, I want to be able to bring on a different option when we have to take our winger off. Well, we certainly do that at right back. We certainly do that at left back. We certainly do that in centre midfield. We definitely do that in striker. And we definitely do that in both of the wings as well. And I think that's a real positive for me. That's something I'm looking for if I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm looking for us to shift the emphasis within the team. We did that against Accrington and open them up. Not to say that we needed that help in the first place. Obviously, Liverpool went ahead very early, that classic Liverpool counter-attack, which was run by all of the more senior guys in the team, pleasantly, and the finish from Jota, classic Liverpool goal, to be honest. Good to see what Nunez did in it, but again, I'll brush on Nunez in this. You can see his confidence is rock bottom, and I think some of that is environmental. Some of that is knowing that he's not a long-term plan for Liverpool at this point. Some of that is feeling that you aren't the best fit, and therefore, are you maximising your potential? As a young man, that is incredibly frustrating. The patience that he didn't really ever have at Liverpool in the first place, or had to be forced into, or had to trudge his way through, is now something he's being asked to display again. And I'd imagine when he transferred a couple of seasons ago, he's thinking, okay, I'll come in, I'll put in the groundwork, Klopp will do the work with me. He wanted me here in the first place, so I'll do what it is that he needs. And then come next season, we'll be all good, because I'll understand what my role is. I'll understand more of what it is that I need to do. I'll have trained against some of the best players in the world. Not that he wasn't before, but even better training sessions with people I actually want to train against and know, and I'll become the guy. But we all had that feeling with him, right? We all had that feeling there was a bit of a weird fit. And Klopp was forcing a circle into a slightly smaller circle, or a slightly, like an oblong-y type thing. And it never really worked, or it hasn't worked, at least so far. That's at least my frustration. The wider option, I guess, for Liverpool at this point is to get rid of him and go get another striker. Marmoush will not be that guy. I think Marmoush, broadly, is going to City. So we'll see what Marmoush does. But, I mean, if I'm Nunez, maybe if I'm Diaz as well, I'm looking at my other options and saying, I might actually be culturally happy somewhere else. I think that's why Liverpool are looking at someone like Kvaratskhelia. I think that's why they are looking at other options. They know there are a couple of guys who are great for this season, who probably would have gone somewhere else and performed really, really well, but aren't ultimately performing in the club that they want to be. Fair enough, all right? I'll move on to the other elements as well of the team. Good to see Szoboszlai back. I think we really miss him. I think he's very often a fantastic option for Liverpool, brings the energy. I know there are a lot of people who criticise him. I like his arrogance. I like the way that he plays. I like his relationships with the other players. Clearly, someone who's got a bit of swag about him, brings it to the team. Endo started. Love Endo. Endo should be starting as captain in that side, I think, although Trent would obviously be doing that. I think, again, you can see the one-footedness of him when you see him playing, or at least the lack of 360 elements. He's great broadly, but I think there are technical elements that Arne Slot probably wants his midfielders and centre-backs to be able to do more of. He's a cult hero already at Liverpool, and probably would go on to be a cult hero if we actually won something this season. So I don't hate that against him. I do think ultimately I see him leaving next summer. If we bring in anyone into the midfield, or we bring someone through, I think that's fair enough. Then I want to talk about the Trent situation, because that's the only other one that really bothers me. We'll talk about the goal first of all. Fantastic strike. Again, against a kind of a lower league side, so can you really say all that much? I think you probably get one of those a week against a La Liga side, just considering the time and the technical ability that he has. They wouldn't close him down in the same way. He found himself in that position multiple times, being the quarterback of a Real Madrid team. So yeah, if you want to go and be someone who, I think a lot of people are judging whether he'd win a Ballon d'Or based on the fact that his current level of play. I don't think his current level of play would continue if he went to Real Madrid. I think it would up, because he'd be in a league which was probably not as intense for him, suits his playing style even better broadly. And, is one that would allow him to flex a little bit. Fair enough. That probably wins you or gets you into at least the Ballon d'Or nominations. Virgil van Dijk has had that at Liverpool, but it's hard to get that if you're a Liverpool player, unless you're very consistently performing and probably playing full 90 minutes, which he probably could do at Real Madrid, but couldn't do at Liverpool because the expectations on him as a fullback. A lot of people go, well, he could be Marcelo or whatever. They're not asking him to be Marcelo. They're not asking him to get up and down on that right wing. They're asking him to be a completely different role, or at least I think they would. And I can see that. But I actually think the embarrassed way that he kind of celebrated the goal and the sheepish look that he sort of had, for me, indicated there is more to this. I still got kind of a weird prediction for him. I actually think he might stay in the end. I know it's weird. I've spent weeks speculating about why he would stay, why he wouldn't stay. I think he ends up staying, boys. I think he's waiting for that contract. Otherwise, I think after that Real Madrid phone call, which goes, hey, is he available? No. Ooh, we'll leak that. What else is there? And I get it. I get the Jamie Carragher logic. I get the whole thing of like, oh, you know, someone must have told them to do that. Yeah, of course he's going to go to Real Madrid and go, hey, look, the contract, we need to go higher internally. Let's call Real Madrid and tell them to bid. Bid, great, okay, fine. I don't think that necessarily shows that he wants to leave. I think it shows he has tactics and strategy. I don't think it shows he wants to leave. Is it disrespectful to the fans? But I think it could come across that way. But if he signs, would they care about that in the end? If we didn't win the league, if we didn't stay on course, possibly rocking the boat, those kind of things, you know, changing the atmosphere at Anfield, I think that's fair. But this was one of those ones where it's a bit of a reminder. It's like, hey, oh yeah, we are Liverpool. We do have a bit of a flex. Great goal from him. Again, big take there. So I'll let that one hang in the air. Second half was really not much different. This was a game that we found very easy to control because guess what? It's very easy to control sides who aren't at the same fitness level as you and don't have the same technical or like tactical ability. It's not a slur on them. It's just the Premier League is going to be very different. Morton. I was told that Morton was injured even after I predicted that he would start the game. I love that he started. I thought he never really got a foothold in the team, but I thought Liverpool had control and I like that Slot keeps using him. I love his profile. I love him as a player. I think he's a very humble young man. I've interviewed him before and he seemed lovely. I think I like him a lot. I don't quite know who he pushes out in order to push in, if that makes sense. I see him in these kind of games, but I think we'll probably look at it in the future and go, ooh, is that a Harry Wilson type? Someone who was fantastic, but we just didn't, you know, he had ambition to be a Premier League player, rightly so, but there was just no space in the team at the time. Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister, maybe if Endo was to move on, but even then, I think if Endo was to move on, it would be because we pushed someone else into the team. I love him as a player. Like, I think he's very silky. He's kind of like awkward, but silky, if that makes sense. Like he's sort of not leggy and gangly, but like he's quite top heavy almost. But I like the way he moves for that reason. It's almost a bit Vieira-like. That's a weird comparison to make with Tyler Morton, but I like it. And now, silky feet. I'm going to say Nguma. Is it Nguma? Yeah, Ngumoa. Ngumoa, I think it's Ngumoa. I think I'm glad we signed him. I think he's confident and I think he's really fun to watch. And I enjoyed watching him sort of go, right, I'm good. Let's see how good you are to their guys. And on multiple occasions, he walks straight past them. He knocks the ball around people. He causes trouble. He's a bit of a disruptor. Slot said in his pre-match press that he really enjoys the way that he steps up to the first team and kind of gives them that, you know, just I'm not afraid to be here type look when he comes into training. It's cool. It's fun. It's interesting. Do I think he's forcing his way into the first team immediately? No. But are games like this for exactly this? Yes. I would have loved him to have gotten a goal today. I would have just loved him to have gotten a goal. And that's why I think the other guy who actually did score a goal, Jayden Dines, when he came on as a sub, always impresses me. Played the ball to Chiesa, which ultimately then rebounded. Love that. Think he has great vision. But again, a little bit worried that he kind of Harvey Elliott, Harry Wilson's himself. Maybe Harvey Elliott's himself. He's a great player. Like he's a fun striker to watch. He's someone who, you know, I actually would start ahead of Nunez at this point. I'd be like, I actually think if you're going to be young and diligent, start. Nunez is on there because there are elements to his game where you think, okay, at least you can do this. That's frustrating though, isn't it? I kind of want to enjoy watching players and at the moment, I don't enjoy watching Nunez. Like it's not even a criticism of him. It's just that I know he's not the long-term at Liverpool. If he was to leave in January, I would shake his hands, pack his bags, drive him to the airport and say, this has been fantastic. Would I miss him? Maybe his personality, not his play though. We miss his goals. I already miss his goals because they aren't around. But that's kind of my point. Dan's is doing stuff. He might not be strong enough for the Premier League. He might need some time to develop. They don't want to exhaust him. They don't want to put him in a position where they develop him too quick or they push him into the team too quickly. Fair enough. But at the same time, I love watching him play. I love his personality out in the field. I love his hair. I love his style. I love the way he carries himself. I love the same with Nunez. Like, I love Nunez's hair. I love his style. I love the way he carries himself. I think you can't overlook a young local lad. And that is why, you know, this was a very simple game, but it felt like a reset. The real reset, this is like us putting our finger on the button, is Forest. Liverpool now have games coming thick and fast. 2, 3, 4 days in between them. It goes cup, it goes league, it goes champions, it goes league. It goes, like, that is just the way it is for January, February for Liverpool. We need players to rotate in and out. In that time, why play Darwin Nunez? And I know we played him to get a goal, but he didn't get it. He got assists, but he didn't get the goal. He's a striker, and I get it. Strikers can play multiple different roles. I say that. But it's not what I'm looking for. In the cup, I want Dan's to start. Maybe he's enough of fitness to play the full 90. Cool. Bring Nunez on later if we need him. Put Chiesa out there. I just want to see some variation. I want to see some experimentation. I want to see Slot having fun again. He hasn't had fun for a couple of games now because there's been like, oh, let's experiment. Nope, sorry. Nope, don't do that. That frustrates me as a fan. I want to see my manager enjoying what he's doing. I want to see the manager putting in getting out. Because that was the feeling at the start of the season. And the concern, I guess, which I will kind of address later in this week in a video, is that this was a new manager bounce. Is that this was a change is as good as a rest. And actually, we need to consistently see that. Weirdly, Slot is always better in the second half of the season. That's what everyone says, than the first. But the whole point is, you have to do that. And we've actually started the second half of the season worse than we started the first. Not always true. I mean, I suppose it's not always true, but you know, you get my point. Anyway, it was a beautiful cold day today. I actually really enjoyed watching this because I enjoy the freshness. I enjoy sitting out with my doors open on the balcony and going, right, get cold, you know, feel like we're Anfield, lads. Kids hate it, but yeah, appreciate you guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I just want to check I haven't missed anyone because there are a lot of notes there. Subasai, no. Jota covered. Elliott covered. Yeah, everyone was covered. I mean, you know, Jarell Quansah looked fine. I didn't think he looked accomplished. There were a couple of times where we sort of got closed down. Fine. Kelleher, broadly, fine. You know, nothing of note. Let me just check our subs just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Trent Alexander-Arnold came on late. I like Nyoni. I really want to see him develop it. I think he's the one that, if anyone was to stick around, it would be Trey. But fair enough. Apart from that, yeah, Connor Bradley came on. I thought he was good. I really enjoyed his little knock it pass through someone's legs and then go through. Enjoyed that. I also really enjoy... it's not that I don't enjoy Chiesa, right? I enjoy Chiesa. I enjoy Federico. It's more that I sort of watch him and go, this is weird, isn't it? Like he looks bent forward almost. I feel like they have to sort of fix that a little bit. That's sort of his play style. He almost looks a little bit frail. It's just unusual. It says to me in the long run, maybe you need a lot more to get back to the level you were. But it could be a fun Champions League, you know, wild card style. He could be good to rotate in the second half of the season. And he seems to do things when he comes on. That's what I think is good about him. He does make a change to the shape of the team. He does get involved, even if there are times where it comes to no end or he gets tackled or whatever. He does push at the opposition. That kind of bravery, that kind of play, I've got time for. And that's what we had today. See you guys tomorrow when we go over a little bit more of this. I appreciate you as always, and I'll chat to you later. Much love. Bye.